So we were talking about Azerbaijan, and recently, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken warned that it's quite possible that Azerbaijan in the next few weeks will move to invade Armenia. Their objective would probably be to take this narrow strip of land that connects Azerbaijan to its exclave, which is an area of territory that Azerbaijan controls but doesn't directly border, which is kind of surrounded by Armenian territory, and that's Nakhchivan is their exclave there. It's interesting because what we're kind of seeing, especially in the Middle East, but also in other parts of the world, that is as these big powers, especially in this case Russia, but also the United States, are busy supporting certain conflicts in certain states, and more of those conflicts are popping up. It becomes harder and harder for the imperial powers to give enough attention to some of their traditional allies and supporters, and that's what you see happening with Armenia. I mean, Armenia is totally angry at Russia. They've just recently joined the International Criminal Court, which is a big, which in that court has a warrant out for Putin's arrest. So now, theoretically, if Putin was to travel to Armenia, he would be arrested, which is a big play by Armenia, which has traditionally been a USSR, Soviet state. And they've also done other things like asked to do military drills with the United States, and just a lot of anti-Russian moves that are interesting because they show the limited ability of Russia to control the narrative in that region. But it's not Russia's fault. And actually America's having the same issue with its allies abroad. When you have too many fingers and too many pies, but you're also busy in a World War III size conflict in Ukraine, and also preparing for issues in Taiwan, and now the Israel-Gaza conflict. It creates an environment where smaller states kind of question, if I do something bad right now, who's going to do anything about it? And after the takeover of Nagorno-Karabakh, you're definitely going to, Azerbaijanis are going, wow, that was easy. There was no real negative consequences to us taking that land. I mean, technically it's their land, but the expulsion of Armenians is technically a genocide. Even though it wasn't a direct genocide, it's still technically, but in the books, a genocide. So it's interesting because that kind of behaviors, those kind of behaviors, just encourage more and more aggression worldwide. Because basically, like, smaller states kind of who have long-term ethnic conflicts or territorial disputes see this and they kind of think, well, if it's that easy for them, then why am I not doing it? And a couple conflicts to watch in the world is Ethiopia and Egypt. They have conflict over the Gerd Dam on the Nile River, which Ethiopia built at the head of the river, and without Egypt's consent. And Egypt is very scared because I think like 70% of their water or something like that comes from the Nile River. So that's something to watch for. Also, the other big one is India-Pakistan. But also another thing to watch for would be India-China, because they're having a lot of conflict on their line of control, which is in the Himalayas, and it's basically not a marked line, so people could kind of say the border is wherever they want to say the border is. So there's been a lot of issues with that. So we'll see what's happening with that. And then of course Taiwan is another situation. Although I don't know what the situation with Taiwan will be, because I don't know if the Chinese feel ready for that yet in the next year or so. I feel like that might be in maybe a few years longer, but we'll see.